Beets, pickles, beans, whatever you want. I pickle everything.
I cried because I was like, how am I going to play this character?
We didn't know each other, but she grabbed me by the shoulders and just looked me in the eye and she said, I did this for you. I'm so excited to meet you. I have so many questions.
I know, I do too. I'm such an admirer of your work, and I loved your film. I can't wait to like get into that. But how do you feel right now? I feel a little nervous actually right when they called action.
I know, me too. I know, because how do you start a conversation about all of this? I mean, you must be so excited. Your film is doing so well and all this attention, and I mean, it's exciting, but surreal, right?
I'm so lucky to be in a film like this, and I've been dreaming like my entire career as an actress to be in the place that I am right now. So it feels surreal. I don't know, some of it doesn't quite feel real at times.
Maybe it's better that way. When did you start acting?
I started acting when I was about 15, 16. We actually, it's sort of similar, we both got our starts in television. Yeah. When I was 15, I got a TV show called Better Things that lasted for 5 seasons over the course of 7 years. And so that was my introduction into everything. I really knew basically nothing about acting or what it was like to be on set, to play a character. And so over the course of those 7 years, I really was able to just dip my feet into the water and cut my teeth on something and learn,
At least it's the beginning, right? Like, you don't really know sometimes when you start the process. You know, I was always very curious about the craft of acting, but I didn't really have to apply myself when I was running around in a bathing suit, like, you know, Baywatch. So I was curious about it, but I would be sitting on the floor of Samuel French and reading Tennessee Williams and Eugene O'Neill plays and just didn't know how to get from there to there. So I just kind of had this dream I always kept kind of a secret, that I could be more than I was doing. So it was really exciting to get this film. And Gia, she could see the hunger in me as a woman who wanted to express herself just from the documentary. So I just attribute a lot to her for having that kind of vision, because a lot of people think other people's thoughts. And so, you know, thank God for her. I always tell her, you know, you really literally saved my life, because I would have hated to never get my chance to do something that was meaningful to me. And I see that in you, too. I mean, you worked for Quentin Tarantino, one of my favorite filmmakers, and Sean Baker. So did they pursue you? Did you see the script? Did you audition?
Oh, yeah. So for Anora, Sean had seen a horror film that I did, Scream. And he went to go see it opening weekend. And I think he was already sort of thinking about the plot for Anora. And he cast me in it just from the film. So it was the easiest casting process I've ever had to go through. I've never had to not audition for something before.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm so lucky as well that Sean saw something in me that made him think that I could play this kind of character.
You?
Annie. I'm Vanya's wife. I wanted to ask you how this film came about. Like, when did you first read the script?
Oh, well, first of all, I was in my garden at home on Vancouver Island making pickles. And
pickles?
Pickles. I'm a big pickle maker, and jam, and I just love my garden. I'm kind of obsessed.
Do you grow your own cucumbers?
I grow my own cucumbers, yes, and my own vegetables. I have a big rose garden. Anyway, so I went home to kind of remember who I was. I had just started getting sick of playing all these characters in my personal life, you know, so that's when I started taking off the makeup and getting into the garden, getting my hands dirty. And I didn't really have representation at the time, but Gia tried to find me through an old agent, kind of agent, and he passed on the movie. And then my son, because Gia didn't take no for an answer, she's like, there's no way she passed on this movie in 10 minutes. She hasn't read the script. So she found my son, Brandon, and then Brandon brought me the script. And I read it while I was in Ladysmith on my little vegetable farm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. I could hear the voices in my head. I could see the movie. I felt there's no one else in the world that could play this role. I mean, obviously there is, but I felt so strongly about it. And I remember my first conversation with Gia just going, you know I can do this. And she goes, no, I know you can do this. This is why I've been looking for you.
Yeah, right.
So I read it and I responded to it and just got really excited and really started, immersing myself in it and working on it. And I knew the whole movie like a play before I even got to Las Vegas.
Wow.
And it was a lot. I know with you, you're in every scene of your film. I was in every scene of my film. A lot to prepare for. You really have to immerse yourself. I was wondering what the process was like for you. How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, it was a character that immediately felt different than anything I've ever done before. And also someone who just felt so far away from home in every single way. And it was very intimidating at first because I was like, how do I understand this person who feels so different? How do I empathize with her? And so I was like, I think I just need to start small, start my preparation in different places. So I would start with working on the physicality of the character because she's a dancer. And I know you played a dancer too, so I'm curious to know what your preparation was like physically for that. But I did quite a bit of pole training. I sort of did this like stripper boot camp in a sense where I was taught how to give lap dances, how to twerk, which is such an important part of strip club culture and was something that I didn't know how to do. And I know, and there were pole tricks that I wanted to learn. And so I started developing my skills with that, and then I would dabble a little bit in like backstory of my character, really trying to get to the root of who she is, understand her morals. I asked myself lots of questions about her. I wanted to really go into depth and more detail than I ever have before. So like I would know everything about her, like what cigarettes she smokes, like what her school life was like, what her relationship to her parents are, so that when I got to Sean's set, because he's such an organic filmmaker, I wanted if someone to ask me a question about my character and me always be able to answer it. And so I feel like I got to a place where I got there, and then obviously I had to learn as much Russian as possible and the dialect. So I just did little things at a time, and I think it sort of, over the course of 5 months, built up to this fully formed character.
I mean, it's a scary life. When I saw the movie, I didn't know what to expect. I'd seen the neon and the colors and everything, and then when I saw it, I thought there was so much, sexuality and nudity and sex in the film too, and I thought, I just wanted to grab you out of there and hug you. I just felt like that, and I've had friends in this industry as well, people who have tried to, just recover from certain things in their life, and a lot of it does come from trauma and taking your power back, your sexuality back. The parts of my life I could really relate to it, but it was so emotional. And I watched your film one time. I've only seen my film one time, and I felt like that was kind of a nice mirror to go. And the vulnerability and the similarities, looking for love and attention, how Shelley had a barrier, because she was on stage and she was far away from the audience. And showgirls are not encouraged to mingle with people in the audience or in the casinos.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. This is so embarrassing. Why did I even come? Oh, my God. This is a bad idea. This is the worst fucking idea. Christ. And, like, you're in any position to judge me.
Did you have an intimacy coordinator? That's the big thing now these days, right?
Yeah, well, for our film, we didn't. It was a choice that I made, that the filmmakers offered to me if I wanted to bring on an intimacy coordinator or not. And at the time, Mark Eidelstein, who plays Yvonne in the film, we decided that it would be best just to keep it small with us, and then Sean Baker, the director, and Sammy Kwan, his producing partner, and his wife. And so I think that we were able to just really streamline it, shoot it super quickly, and there are less sex scenes, more sex shots. That's what Sean likes to say. And I think there's a lot of humor involved in them as well. And so it was a very positive experience for me. But also my character is a sex worker.
Right.
And so to me, I had seen Sean's films and I know his dedication to authenticity. I also wanted to immerse myself in that. So I was ready for it. It requires a lot of her body and her skin. And so I think that, like I've said it before, but I think she wears her nudity more like a costume in a way. She presents herself in this sort of hypersexualized way because it's how she makes a living. And it's just what she has to do. And so I think I also, as an actress, approached it in a way of like it being a job.
Yeah.
So I was very comfortable.
First, I'm getting a lawyer. Then I'm gonna sue Yvonne and you. And I'm gonna walk away with fucking half because I didn't sign a prenup.
I want to ask you what your preparation was like.
I worked with this great acting teacher, which I do a lot of, and so I got to be able to bring a lot of my own personal experience, my kind of long life of dealing with beauty and glamour and aging and reassessing life choices. So I got to bring my whole life really into this role. It was such a relief to be able to play something where I could express myself that way. And of course, the physicality. I worked with Greg Butler, who was a choreographer for when I played Roxy in Chicago on Broadway.
I was going to ask you about that because you did that before going to The Last Showgirl, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like my warm-up, which was nice because I really got to see that backstage banter when people are just worried about what they're going to make for dinner or some problem with their kids or their boyfriend or husband, and then they hear their cue and boom, they're on stage. So I got to research that there, not knowing I was going to do, The Last Showgirl next. But there's a whole choreography when it comes to those costumes. They're like 50 to 80 pounds sometimes. Wow. And these headdresses, these Bob Mackie pieces that are museum pieces and hadn't left the building in 30 years.
They're Bob Mackie designs?
Bob Mackie designs.
Oh,
and they have so much history in them. I felt like I was wearing something that so many other women had wore before me. There were even name tags, some stitched in, some still. So you really felt a community of women. The Vegas Showgirl is the iconic image of Las Vegas, and it no longer exists. So I wanted to keep that nostalgic innocence, joyful optimism about her art form. So I did a lot of research. I met with a lot of the Jubilee dancers, and to create the chemistry and the bonding between the young girls and the other people in the movie, I had dinners at my house where I like to cook. So we were all cooking vegetable soup and doing all sorts of bonding things because we shot the movie in 18 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was like a play every day. I looked at it as a play, and it was actually started out as a play and then adapted to a screenplay.
Well, you really feel that chemistry and camaraderie and that rich history between you and each of the characters in the film. And I think that's really a testament to all the internal work that you did within your character. Because you immediately you can see like how many years each characters have known each other for and all of that history. And so it's so interesting to hear you sort of pull the curtain back on that.
Yeah, and it was such a short time, and we're still so close. You really have to dive in head first. And like, I'm sure you had to too, and the characters were so fun, Vlad and Igor, and do you know any Russian?
It's a very complicated language. I didn't know any when I started the film. I knew like a couple curse words, which I won't say because I know we're not allowed to cuss. My grandmother was one of the languages she spoke, but it wasn't passed down to my father, and then I don't know any other languages. So I was basically starting from scratch. But my character, she needed to speak Russian in a very specific way. In the story, her grandmother spoke Russian and she didn't speak English, so that's how Annie knows that language. And so her Russian is very much at the level of like maybe an elementary schooler or a middle schooler. And I never wanted it to sound perfect. I always wanted there to be some Americanized version of the Russian in her vocality because I didn't want her to fit in any specific way. I think she's kind of always on the outside looking in, like even when she's trying to connect with Yvonne and have some kind of deeper connection with him, she's really trying to speak Russian to him, but there's still something about it that's a little bit off. Like she's never really going to be one of them in a way. And so I had to keep that in mind while also still really needing to understand what my character was saying and what the other characters are saying. because I didn't just want to like phonetically memorize my lines.
Right.
I wanted there to be some like detail and nuance between how we do the scene each time. So that it was definitely challenging. I remember the first Russian session I did, it was like 2 hours long, and like after an hour of trying to learn another language, like I just go, like my brain is mush, basically. Yeah. And I cried because I was like, how am I going to play this character? This is such an important part of it. And so I was like, I really have to like just dedicate all my time to learning that. So I would like fall to sleep listening to like 10 hours of Russian speaking on YouTube and cram in as much Duolingo as possible. But I mean, at this point, I think most of the Russian is pretty much gone.
But you know, when you learn a language, I lived in France for a while, and I
Oh,
learned,
really?
but I was always afraid to speak it. So even if you learn the language,
Yeah.
and you learn like the grammar, and you learn how to write it, or you learn how to read it, or you can understand a conversation, you're still shy to speak it. So I feel that really came across. Like all those little details, I think were really interesting.
What would you say was one of the most challenging parts of playing your character?
Well, for me, the first scenes are always the hardest because you really are establishing who she is.
Right,
And
yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, I haven't had a lot of experience in this industry. I mean, I have in my own way, but not like something like this that was so important to me. So it was really just I was just trying to understand if what I was doing was working. Like not working, but I don't know how to explain it. Just, I really wanted to pour my heart and soul into it. And I wanted to keep my focus for the entire project. And I had my own way of doing that. So it was all very challenging and scary, but it was such a relief to be able to do this. And I feel like it's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I'm really excited about doing more. I'm going to still make pickles, but I'm going to
Thank
hopefully
God.
do more movies.
Wait, I want to try Pamela pickles.
You will get them. I will send
Okay.
you some.
Thank
Beets,
you.
pickles, beans, whatever you want. I pickle everything.
You have a cookbook, right?
Yes, I have a cookbook.
Yeah, I love to cook too. It's
Oh, really?
a huge passion of mine. My dad's an amazing chef, and so I've been cooking most of my life, but I was excited to see you have a cookbook. I need to check that out.
It's so funny. I mean, that's the thing. I was in my garden writing a cookbook. I didn't really know if I would continue on. I thought maybe Broadway was a nice kind of thing to kind of end on, thinking, okay, I went from Baywatch to Broadway. That's
Right.
kind of cool.
It
And
is.
That's cool. But then to do this film has been such an honor, and Gia Coppola really has her style too. Similar maybe to Sean Baker. I know she loves Sean Baker.
Oh,
She
really?
loves him and is really respectful of his work, and she respects his work. So I think she's very to herself. Like she keeps one little monitor to herself. She doesn't share the monitor with other department heads or anything. She doesn't want to hear the voices in her head. She has this singular vision. So I was wondering how the set was, like how Sean is to work with as a director.
He is such an actor's director. He really made it clear from the beginning that he wanted to collaborate with me on like a really great scale. I had such a part of so many different aspects of making the film, like from the costumes to hair and makeup. I mean, there was quite a bit of improvisation in my film. Did you guys do that in yours?
No, we didn't
really?
improv. No, very little improv. I know like Jamie's scene where she's dancing on the podium was improv, and that was one take.
Really?
That wasn't in the script. That was just because they have these people in the Rio called bevertainers. So you serve drinks and you get to show off your dancing ability or singing a couple times a shift. So Gia asked her to do that, and she did that in one take to a total eclipse of the heart, which was pretty amazing.
It's really an amazing scene.
That's an
What
amazing scene.
was it like working with her? Because the history between your two characters is so rich and detailed.
Well, I was terrified to meet her at the table read. Well, because Jamie Lee Curtis, she just
You
wanted-
didn't know each other before?
No, we didn't know each other. But she grabbed me by the shoulders and just looked me in the eye, and she said, "I did this for you." And I was just instantly we had this incredible bond. I mean, if anyone talks about Jamie, you can tell she's everyone's cheerleader. She's such an incredible woman. And all the nerves just went out the window. She was like, and very supportive and really fun to play with. You know,
Yeah.
she really goes there. She really just goes for it. And these characters she creates and everything she does. I mean, I was doing the table read and she had just gotten a spray tan and she was getting darker and darker as I was talking to her, and oranger with the frosty lips and the wig. And she's a lot of fun. A lot of fun, but very super professional.
Yeah.
She was moving gear. She was like, she introduced herself to every single crew member. I learned a lot from her.
Show, look, we love you. We'll bring. I don't love you. I don't care. I don't care. Look what I have to show for the last 30 years of my life.
I mean, I think the past shouldn't dictate your future. And I really like to live in the moment and really want to enjoy this time in my life. But looking back in hindsight, I was always creating characters. And I feel like, I know I've created a few Halloween costumes even, that they were memorable characters. So I just take it as a compliment. I don't know if you have kids or if you're in a relationship. You don't have kids yet, right? But there's, you know, being a working mom and being in this entertainment world, and even having your mom be, you know, sexualized in some way. Like a lot of the things I went through, I didn't realize my kids were going through them at the same time. So as adult children, we talk about that a lot. And, you know, you kind of beg forgiveness for your adult children, but we're such a team now. At some point, I was working with Kareem Anous in Barcelona. I said, I just want to dive in this pool and I want to let everything go of my past. I don't want to even think about it anymore. I'm sick of hearing about it. I just want to start now. And he goes, no, bring it with you, baby. And I was like, yeah, that's so much easier. Yes, I'm going to bring it with me. It was just, so I'm not ashamed of my life. I'm not ashamed of the choices that I made, even though maybe in hindsight I would have done things differently. But you need life experience to know that you would have done that differently. So I'm so happy for you because you are really starting at this such exciting moment in your young life and you have so much ahead of you. But, you know, you just learn along the way and apply everything you learn to what you do. And I feel like now I have the freedom to focus on things instead of worrying about a relationship or my family. My kids are grown. I'm free. Now I can play again. So anyway, I just wanted to say that about my past. I don't know if I was ever looking for my voice or I didn't realize I'd ever find it.
I don't think that there's anything to be ashamed about. You know? Yeah.
I'm trying to tell myself that too.
Yeah, well, you said that word, and I think that, like, shame, it's such a, gosh, that's like, I said that now, and it's such like a palpable feeling. And I think that as women, like, we all feel that at some point in our life or multiple different times. And I think that when you live your life and you, like you said, you bring all of those things with you, and it makes you who you are. And I think the life that we live, it makes us better actors as well. Like,
a lot to draw from.
absolutely, but this whole incredible, amazing life you've had has made you the person you are, and that's why you were able to play Shelley and give the performance that you were able to give, which is so breathtaking.
Oh, thank you.
There's this moment in the film where you're all sitting at a dinner table. It's earlier on in the film, and your character is being told that the show is ending. And it's like a close-up on your face. And like tears well up in your eyes, and you can see Shelley's life like flash before her eyes. Yeah. All of the years and all of her life that she's dedicated to this job that she loves. Yeah. And it was such a beautiful, poignant moment to see that. And I think only someone who has lived a rich life is able to give that kind of performance.
Oh.
I was wondering, too, in the last scene, like, where do you think Anora goes from there? Where do you think she goes at the end? But I mean, that last scene must have been difficult, too, and that was really a wonderful moment for you as an actress. It was just really incredible to watch your performance, too. You are so amazing, and you're so young.
Yeah, that last scene, I was so nervous to shoot that because it's such an important scene in the film and so important, like the most important for the character, because she's been carrying around this like heavy baggage of pain and heartbreak, and she's just been suffocating it inside of her. She doesn't want anybody to see her vulnerable. She doesn't want anyone to see her crack. And so to have that private moment and to let it out, I put so much pressure on myself as an actress to like get it right, which is, there's like no such thing as getting it right. Like you're either in the moment and it's honest or it's not, you know? And so I remember getting to set and we had tried to shoot it so many times and something would always go wrong, like the lighting or the snow wouldn't look right. And I was like, like I feel like I just need to ground myself. I had almost like given up on the scene in some weird way. And I was like, how do I ground myself? How do I like get to this place? So I tried to channel all the frustration that I felt, everything that had been going on in my life up until then, like all the pressures of playing this character. And I was like, I just need something else to like sort of tip me over the edge a little bit. And so I wanted to ask you this. I know we don't have much time, but as an actress, like I have a couple things in my back pocket that I'll carry with me, like little things that just kind of like,
Triggers.
Yeah, triggers, things that sort of rip me up inside a little bit. And I have this voicemail that my dad left me like years ago. And it's, for whatever reason, it's very private, like I won't go into it too much, but I was like, you know what if I play this before the scene? I think maybe that will give me something a little more personal. And so Sean was sitting in the back seat of the car with his monitor, and then obviously Yor Borisov, who plays Igor, is in the front seat, and we played it, and all three of us listened to it, which is like embarrassing, vulnerable. I think it sort of connected all of us together and grounded us to this place of like extreme vulnerability, to where I was able to shoot the scene and we just got it. She was able to just like let go in a way. How are you as an actress able to get to those emotional places, or does it just come naturally?
Oh no, I write a lot. So I write these emotional diaries, I listen to music, and have a lot of personal experience. And those moments, like you said, you just access them, and having empathy for the character. And I feel like that last scene too was so, like, it was very palpable. It did feel like a release. It did feel like he just had to let it go. So I think it really worked. It came across. It was so wonderful. And I'm just so excited for you. I mean, I feel like you're the age of my sons. You're younger than my sons. And it's just such a pleasure to be able to talk to you and to be able to have this conversation. I never thought I'd be, on Actors on Actors. This is such a surreal moment,
I
right?
never thought that I would be here either. It's crazy.
Like we're mixing it up. We're stirring it up,
But also to talk with you, like I think you're wonderful. And I'm very excited to see the kind of work you do next and to see you like continue to dive into these characters, because I love watching you on screen. You have this presence, and I'm excited. Yeah, maybe one day we'll do something together.
Yes. Oh my God, wouldn't that be great? That would be great. Well, I'm really proud of you, and I just wish you every success.